It was a year ago, folks, that the government of Iran, our good friends, the government of Iran, just asked Barack Obama, imprisoned an American citizen, a pastor by the name of Saeed Abedini, because he's a Christian. And it happened, late summer last year. Saeed traveled to Iran, something he had done many times without incident. He was finalizing his work on a government-endorsed orphanage. And without warning, the Revolutionary Guard members pulled him off a bus, put him under house arrest in his parents' home in Tehran. And then on September 26th, a year ago, members of the Guard came to that home and took him away in chains to a prison where he has remained ever since. Now, joining us right now is the attorney for the Abedini family here in the U.S., also executive director of the American Center for Law and Justice, Jordan Sekulow. Hello, Jordan.
Hey, Steve. Great to be with you.
Well, always good to talk to you, sir. Okay, so today they're holding in Washington, D.C., and actually worldwide a vigil to commemorate the one-year anniversary of his imprisonment and, I guess, to demand his release.
That's right, Steve. As we're talking right now, there are over 70 vigils happening across the United States in additional 16 countries. I mean, one in Brazil. There's a dozen happening just in Brazil, a number in Mexico, and all the way to places like Russia, throughout Africa. Even in East Jerusalem, at a primarily Arab Christian church, is doing a vigil for Saeed today. So literally, as we're speaking here in Washington, D.C., there are members of Congress participating at the vigil outside the White House. Interestingly enough, we've caught the attention, finally got the Secretary of State, John Kerry, to issue a couple of statements, Samantha Power, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, and the State Department is sending a representative to the vigil, and they're going to be speaking today in Washington, D.C. So we've got members of Congress with us, we've got the State Department, all outside the White House, and that's just here in Washington. And these were not vigils that were planned to be large rallies, these huge events. These were truly grassroots. I did not organize the one here in Washington. A reverend did. I'm attending. And it was Nagma Abedini, Pastor Saeed's wife, who wanted to ask people to do this. She did it via Facebook, and it just took over from there. All we've done is really post the list out online to our website, BeHeardProject.com, for Saeed, where the people can go in the Times, and send a couple emails out. I mean, these are true grassroots vigils happening today.
Jordan, as the attorney for the family, where are we legally? What has been done legally? What can be done legally?
Well, at this point, it's a couple of interesting things have happened just in the last 24 hours. I mean, first, Saeed's legal options in Iran in the judiciary system are basically over. Now, Iran's judiciary is not like ours, so when we talk about appeals courts and this and that, you have to remember that they have a supreme leader. We don't have that in the United States, who can override any decision at any time in any moment.
I don't know. That might be debatable, but let's put that aside for now. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so anyhow, the Christian Amanpour actually asked President Rouhani, the new president of Iran, about Saeed. Our client, Nagma Abedini, Saeed's wife, was able to approach the president's delegation.
And she put a note in the hand, right?
Yep. And then also to the foreign minister of Iran's press spokesperson. I mean, both. And then Christian Amanpour asked him about it. And he goes throughout this long dialogue about, well, there's legal process, but, and then there's a but of course, we could work something out. That will happen, that only happens because, one, Christian Amanpour only asked that question because of all the people speaking out about Saeed.
Sure.
I mean, this is only an issue because people care. Politicians react because people speak out. So without everybody out there who's listening right now, without you, Steve, without the media coverage, Saeed there would not be these vigils happening today. He would still be in prison, but with no likelihood of maybe ever coming out. In fact, he's been told that before. He's got an 8-year sentence. So we have exhausted the Iranian legal system. We can make the direct appeal to the Ayatollah, which the Iranian lawyers are, but at this point in time, it's really up to the United States and our allies. Just thinking this far ahead, that we're doing these vigils today, marking 1 year. In November, I'm heading down with a senior delegation from the ACLJ to our office in Brazil to meet with the senior leaders of the country to help get Saeed out. So if at that point he's still not out, because Brazil has played a key role before in the past with Christians who were even facing death one who was being threatened to be hanged, and just was a few days away from that, and Brazil was able to step in because they've got a better diplomatic relationship with Iran. So we're thinking long-term. This is not the end point of the strategy, but one thing that was interesting, we had asked people to write letters because Saeed wrote a letter to the new Iranian president using the new president's own, so-called moderate rhetoric. Then Reverend Billy Graham today in the New York Times on page A11 published a full-page ad, a letter to Iran's president. We've asked people to send letters, and people can do that at BeHeardProject.com. Our first goal, Steve, it was interesting, was 52,000. That was 1,000 for each week he's been in jail, 52 weeks in a year. We hit that literally in 4 or 5 days. So we said, okay, what do we do? What's a big goal we could set to get to by today? By Thursday, September 26th, that marks that full 52 weeks in jail. We said, how about 104,000, 2,000 for each week? Well, that's a big goal. Let's see if we get there. Steve, as we're talking right now, we're over 115,000 people.
That's great.
And we know that same letter got into the hands of the Iranian president's delegation and to the foreign minister's spokesperson. And today of all days, our Secretary of State is attending a meeting with Iran's foreign minister.
Yep.
While we're doing the vigil outside the White House.
Yep. No, I got to tell you, you deserve a lot of credit. I know you're going to pass it around, and deservedly so in many respects. But what you're talking about here is a wonderful effort and a successful effort, and the kind of effort, as you said, that is going to hopefully garner results because public awareness, public pressure. But let me live in a fantasy world for just a second. How's this? And in my fantasy world, maybe our president would have been at the United Nations and he would have said, we would love a dialogue with Iran. Instead of saying, hey, here's why they don't like us, and they got a point.
Sure.
And here's why we don't like them, and and he would have said, but this war on Christians around the world has to stop, and Iran could take the lead on that and show good faith. We have a pastor, an American citizen, in prison for no reason other than for being Christian, and we want him released. And if Iran releases him, we'll view that as a good faith gesture, and then I'll be glad to shake anybody's hand they want me to shake, and we'll go from there. But that's fantasy world in this administration.
And that's exactly why we're outside the White House right now. I mean, that's why the vigil in D.C. is not outside the State Department or the Iranian embassy section and the Pakistani embassy. We're in front of the White House because, as Reverend Billy Graham said in his letter to the Iranian president, exactly those words, that this would show a good faith, a goodwill effort, something that you're reaching across. You're saying, okay, we'll help this American. The president has yet to even mention Saeed by name. And so today, that is the focus. We just got a new letter from actually Senator Lindsey Graham, who's got a decent working relationship with this president, and it went on a limb for him with Syria, who's for the second time and just released a letter just moments ago, is telling the president, okay, enough is enough. Great for the Secretary of State, wonderful. You need to come out and speak out for this American citizen. It's been too long. It's been a year now. It's time for you to speak out, and that's the message we're sending today.
We're talking right now to Jordan Sekulow. He is attorney for the Abedini family and executive director of the ACLJ, the American Center for Law and Justice, which does such wonderful work. And I'm reading, it was published yesterday at FoxNews.com, a piece by the pastor's wife, Saeed's wife, who you alluded to earlier, and it's so touching. She writes, one of the most difficult moments of the past year came just a few days ago when Rebecca, our 7-year-old, celebrated her birthday on September 12th, the second birthday without her dad. When I asked her what she wanted for her birthday, her answer was simply, Daddy. She asked me how many more birthdays she will have to celebrate without Daddy. I did not have an answer. And, and she goes on and on and on and how hard it is to talk about how she's been out there. I've seen her interviewed. She's very well spoken. She's a great face for her husband's cause, if you will. But tell us how, you've had private conversations with her. How's she holding up?
Today. Yeah. Naghmeh, she is very strong, and she had come to us initially, Steve. She said this. She said, I had two options. I could sit in a corner at home in Idaho and be sad. And then someone got her into contact with us, and she said, and then I had this opportunity to speak out. And unlike most Iranians, there are probably 290, 300 other Iranian Christians who are in jail only because they're Christians. Unlike all of them, she can be a voice for Saeed and those others, and she always makes sure to include.
Yeah.
It's not just about Saeed. Saeed has even written in some of the letters he's gotten out of prison that he knows that he's representing a bigger persecuted group. She's become, as she said, a single mother who's on the road traveling so that she can have a two-parent home again. Her husband was there legally. He was there working with the actual local government on opening an orphanage that was primarily going to serve Muslim orphans. I mean, he had gotten the approvals. He was literally making this trip. He was an American citizen, but making this trip to get the final sign-off. And then I think it was a day and a half before he left, he gets yanked off a bus by the Revolutionary Guard and was put under house arrest back in July of last year. And then in September 26th, today, last year, very early hours in the morning in Iran, they raided his parents' home where he was in Tehran, and he's been in prison ever since.
Yeah, let me close with you on this piece, this line from her piece yesterday. This is not a liberal or conservative issue. It's not a Christian or non-Christian issue. This is a human issue. We cannot afford to remain silent. I think that says it all.
Absolutely. Steve, it's an American citizen locked up in Iran only because of his religious faith, and he wasn't doing anything. That's literally what they charged him with, was being a Christian.
Yep.
And all Americans need to speak out for that. Doesn't matter if you're a Christian or not.
Absolutely.
Just speaking out. And they could do it at BeHeardProject.com. Thanks, Steve.
All right, Jordan, my pleasure. Good luck, and thank you for taking the time during the vigil. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. That's Jordan Sekulow, ladies and gentlemen, attorney for the Abedini family, I should say, and he is the executive director for the American Center for Law and Justice. Just look, every day we have these stories. And this is, this is a unique one because he's an American citizen. He's in jail for being a Christian. He did nothing wrong. And boy, oh boy, can you imagine what pride you would? I'll put it this way. I can imagine the pride I would have felt if our president had gone before the world at the United Nations and said what I suggested he might have said. I'd love to talk to Iran about their concerns. I'd love to talk to Iran about their nuclear problems. I'd love to talk to Iran about, but you know what, Iran? You're holding an American citizen right now in your prison simply for being a Christian. Let the pastor go. I would have praised Barack Obama all day, all night, all week, forever for that. It would have instilled such. I would have been moved to tears. But it's not in him. It's just not in him. Anyway, 855-777-9660. You want to weigh in on this vigil and this horrific story, once again, involving a Christian, an American citizen in particular here. Okay, we're coming back. Steve Malzberg on The Steve Malzberg Show. Newsmax TV and radio.